First of all, I'm on behalf of Mayor Silvestrini and the City Council, welcome to Mill Creek, and welcome to the Grand View. You can see why we call it that. My last assistant named that, and I thought, oh, that's a good name, so we kept it. Mayor Silvestrini would love to be here in person, but his 90-something-year-old father needed to go in for a doctor appointment today, and as a good son, he's taken him in, but he said, Mike, can you please tell them how thrilled I am that they're here. And when we came up with the idea of Mill Creek Common, which is what we call our town square out there, the idea is this is where everyone can come and share what they have in common and share our common humanity. We've been having we have just a lot of different cultural events. We had a Mahente Hispanic event last Thursday, for example, that was well attended. Some of you were involved with the big gay car wash that we had out on the Common during Pride Month, where money was raised for the AIDS Foundation. We've been having some fun bingo up here in this very room to help raise money for our Promise program. And we also had a drag queen bingo during Pride Month. And it was times like that where I thought, I am so glad I'm the city manager of Mill Creek and not St. George. Because we have residents in Mill Creek that are embracing all people and wanting it to be here. So when we came up with the idea of Mill Creek Common, the idea that everyone can come here and share the common humanity they have, what exemplified that to me really well was last Wednesday night, we had our farmers market. And every Wednesday, in fact, we just had our last one yesterday, right, Elise? Through August, September, we've had farmers markets out there. And on farmers market night, I was out there walking, and I noticed we had people skating, we had people going into the restaurants and different things. And you know what I saw? I saw older senior citizen couples holding hands and just people watching. I saw a lesbian couple holding hands and checking out the toffee booth. I saw a mom and dad and their little kids going over to go roller skate. I saw a gay couple come in and ask me about Noodlehead, our new noodle shop there, and they were thrilled to be here. And I just saw this ethnically diverse, gender diverse, orientation and identity diverse crowd coming to Mill Creek's town square where everyone felt welcome. And there is something for everyone here. And I've been in government a little bit, and I am so proud of what we're doing here at Mill Creek. I was thrilled years ago on a personal note when I was mayor of West Valley City, and we became the second city in the state to lead for the anti-discrimination ordinances. And that was a great opportunity when I was mayor of West Valley. I was honored when I was up in the state legislature. I think Craig Hall and I were the only two Republicans in the House that were endorsed by Equality Utah. And I think the idea of loving everyone and having everyone have a place at the table here in Utah is important. And that's certainly true in Mill Creek, so we're thrilled you're here. I'm also the Economic Development Director, and when I was first hired at Mill Creek, that was my job. And then when our city manager retired, they gave me the additional title. And as an Economic Development Director, you know that it's a diverse group of people that really make the economy hum. And that is people from all walks of life and background that are going to keep your economy humming when you're coming together and you're helping to provide goods and services to each other, again, in our common humanity. And so we applaud. We had the Black Chamber of Commerce had its event up here last month or earlier this month, I forget. And we've had other groups come together and use this space. And it's giving this space a soul, I think. Because when you walk in here with the big windows and the well-lit wood, hopefully you feel openness and welcome. I hate to go to the gym. I don't know about some of you. So when we were building this building, I told MHT and our architects, I want a stairs first, elevators second building. And so how many of you took the stairs to come up here? See? 6 flights. That's impressive. That's good. And, you know, when I came back from Crown Burger today for our new employee luncheon, we took the stairs up, worked off those fries from Crown Burger, right? So it was good. When we had an opportunity to build a city hall, well, first of all, we had to build a town square, right? We're 65,000 people, but we're Utah's newest city. Well, second newest. Erta out in Tooele recently incorporated. But we're a pretty new city. So we had to create a sense of soul, a sense of community, a gathering place. And so I was tasked with acquiring 48 properties for the city along here and figuring out how to pay for it. So what we did is we put together a community reinvestment area which is a state tool, where the tax increment off the new apartments and condos and being built around here, that's what's making the $20 million bond payment on Mill Creek Common. So it's not coming out of the general fund. It's not coming out of the taxpayer's pocket. And then when we were building this city hall, we took out the bad news is, the good news is we aren't renting in the strip mall like the City Hall $1, as we called it affectionately, kitty corner from here, like we were for the first few years. But the bad news is we now have a mortgage, right? Because we had a $39 million bond to build this beautiful building. The good news is our interest rate's 2.14%. So in hindsight, that makes us look smart. Really, it's lucky, right? But as we built this building, we said, okay, we do not want this to be like any other city hall in the state. We want this to be uniquely Mill Creek. Our motto is connected by nature. We're a very welcoming community. How do we do that? And we heard this idea in Lenexa, Kansas, a suburb of Kansas City, where rather than putting City Hall on the ground floor, don't waste it on government. Government can be anywhere. Throw it up on the second floor and have that be a public market space. And so we've done that, and it's been a huge success. Amy McConkey, our community life director, works with her team to program that. So every couple months, it changes up. So we've had refugee craft fairs. We've had vinyl revivals where we're selling records for a few months. We've had art shows. We have just different things from time to time down there. I think it's Craft Lake City right now, and then soon it'll be with Utah Zone to be the holiday shops for the holidays, which is a lot of fun. So we want it to be not where, oh, I've been to Mill Creek's public market and I had that honey and yeah, it was good, but I don't need to go back. We want it to be like, have you been to Mill Creek's public market lately? I haven't either. Let's go see what's new. What are they doing now? Because it's always changing. But we find what's cool about that is we're able to nurture and help entrepreneurs. And we had one entrepreneur that has a pie shop that did well and won the booths there, and the community embraced her enough that she's now opening a shop in the strip mall here with space there. So we try to think about economic development. We try to think about inclusivity in a different way. We also care about the environment. And I'm out of time, aren't I, Tracy? You guys, Tracy doesn't care about the environment, so I'm not going to. No, real quick. We got a Blue Sky grant from Rocky Mountain Power to do the solar panels on the roof, 265 of them. They fuel about 25% of the building's power need. We purposely face east, not west, because you don't have the afternoon sun pounding your windows. We had different shade screens for that help as well, so our HVAC levels load. So we're a really environmentally friendly building, which I like keeping our utility bills down too. But once again, in conclusion, welcome to Mill Creek. We're thrilled to have you here. As a little goodwill gesture, Elise Summers, our economic development assistant, has been sprinkling some gift cards around. These are $5 gift cards at Mill Creek Pizza House. It's right over there. Mill Creek Coffee Roasters down on the main floor in the public market, and Noodlehead also on the main floor. So feel free to arm wrestle and share those around, and come on back and spend some more money in Mill Creek. Thank you, Tracy, very much. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Mike. And all three of those places are super amazing. So if you get a chance to eat there, I can't even tell you enough. So thanks so much, Mike. Thanks, Elise. Oh, there you are. Thanks so much. You guys have heard me enough today. So here goes Danny. Same birthday.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for being here. We're going to get started with our panel. I'd like to introduce one of our board members, Shannon. Shannon moved from Indiana to Utah in 2016 after finishing his BFA in painting, where he fell in love with large-scale events and art projects. After several public art commissions, Shannon worked with local catering companies as an event planner and sales executive. Now you can find Shannon working with local queer-owned businesses as a catering and events manager. This is also his third year as the events chair for the Utah LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce, where he loves creating safe spaces for local, allied, and queer-owned businesses to connect and thrive. Shannon is fulfilling his lifelong goal of founding his own company, Amalgamation Studio, a creative consulting firm that plans large-scale events and art installations, and he will present our panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. That was such a long bio. Oh, my God. All right, everyone. I'm really excited to be for this next conversation. So I want to welcome everyone to our panel on elevating employment practices and opportunities to empower our justice-involved community members by disrupting the queer to prison pipeline through economic empowerment. Is that an exciting group of words? Who's been arrested? No, I'm just kidding. Don't answer that. So this really came about because we were having a lovely conversation with some of our members and realizing the journeys and paths that they have all traveled. I'm really like, oh, this is a conversation that really needs to be highlighted and also shared with other business owners, and the opportunities that are out there for hiring justice-involved individuals. And I mean, believe it or not, I might have a past. But anyway, I know that's hard to believe. So, but we're going to move along and introduce all our panelists. So Jacey, if you want to come up, James, Fee, Josh, and Channae. Oh, okay, I'll move this way. Yeah. And then I am going to read a few facts. Oh. I can get you a chair. No, that's okay. I'll stand behind this podium, actually. It's great. So, real quick, together in the criminal legal system, made up of state prisons, federal prisons, local jails, juvenile correction facilities, and a lot more. There's about 1.9 million people nationally incarcerated. Sexual minorities are much more likely to be arrested and are 3 times more likely to be incarcerated than other straight counterparts. 1 in 4 Utahns have a justice-involved background. Utah's incarceration rate is at almost 400 per 100,000 per capita. If that makes sense, and which is kind of like 36th in the nation as of 2022. And as of the 2023 census, we're like 30th in the nation for population, which is about 3.4 million. Anyway, I don't know if that helps, but that just kind of gives a general notion about how many people are incarcerated in Utah and the states, and then what happens to them, after what happens for reentry. So I'm actually going to have everyone just go down the line and tell everybody about who you are and what organization you're with. Yeah. Jacey, if you want to start.
Hi, I'm Jacey Thornton. She, they are my pronouns. I'm with Project Rainbow and I was going to say Flourish Bakery, Flourish Therapy, as well as an advisory role with Journey of Hope that works with individuals that have been incarcerated.
Felicia Hansen, she, her, my pronouns, and I'm the owner of a vegan bakery and bistro, Sweet Hazel & Co., and we also have a candy factory, Break Free Candy.
Hi, I'm Channae Haller, and I am she, her pronouns, and I am the founder and president of Justice by Objectives, and we provide peer support and family peer support services to individuals and their families that are experiencing the criminal justice system.
I'm Joshua Lucero, he, him. I'm the owner of Lucero Hair and Wellness. We're an inclusive hair studio. Everything's time-based. We do all hair, and we're just super fun. Yeah, that's all.
Lieutenant James Demkov with the Department of Corrections. I've been with the department about 10 years. Most of my experience comes from inside the institution in Draper and now Salt Lake. And I recently transferred in April to the reentry team. So now we're in the community at all the regions trying to help folks have a good reentry plan when they come back out. We try to help them execute that plan. So that's kind of my background and where I'm at now.
Fabulous. Thank you all for being here. Okay, I'm just going to kind of dive in and we can start asking questions and start conversations. So this one, I'm going to ask Jacey or Channae, and then but everyone can chime in as well. What are the biggest barriers for reentry, and how can our community help? More specifically, how can our queer and allied business community, or what can the queer and allied business community do to remove those barriers?
So I would say the same things that preclude us from successful employment as trans people is similar to the same barriers that we have as justice-involved people. And that's primarily the stigma and discrimination and myths of what it means to be a justice-involved individual. So we passed out this little flyer. I think everyone has it. If you don't have one, you can grab a copy. Just don't steal my purse over here. I don't know if you non-justice-involved individuals can be entrusted. Just kidding. So getting back to being serious here. So the biggest obstacle truly is that. Often we go to places in spaces that say all are welcome. And what's kind of not very explicit is that that does not include justice-involved individuals. And I've seen that both at all these spaces that I've worked at in the last 10 years with Flourish Bakery, with Journey of Hope, Project Rainbow, and Flourish Therapy, that this becomes an additional intersectional barrier that makes it near impossible to get real great employment that has trajectories of economic wealth.
And I just wanted to say, like, employment discrimination is a huge one that I see with just the individuals that we're working with. And, employment discrimination is a hard one, as well as the stigma, like what you're talking about, mental health as well as substance use disorder stigma. They don't really want to talk about what they've experienced in their past or anything, and coming into a workplace is even harder. So I feel like those are a lot of the barriers, but how we can help is, just empower those individuals and discuss, further along, but about how we can help employ these individuals as well and give them, success.
Fabulous. And then real quick, we're using the term justice-involved backgrounds just because this includes any interactions with the criminal justice system as a defendant. This may include drug court, probation, parole, incarceration. Terms like convict, con, or felon can be derogatory. So we're focusing on their background as opposed to making assumptions about their character. So some fun vocabulary for us as well. Okay, so, and then as we're talking into the mic, they told us, touch it with your lips.
Do I need to go over? Do I need to repeat?
I don't think
I can
so.
repeat.
That was great. And then I'm going to direct this first to you, James. What are the benefits, resources, and protections of hiring justice-involved individuals for your company, and where can people find the information?
That's a lot to unpack. I don't know if I have all those answers for you. What I can tell you is most people that leave incarceration, and like I said, my experience is dealing with people leaving the prison, right? Almost nobody says, hey, I can't wait to be back in 2 months, right? Almost everybody is excited to go back out and get normal life started again and get positive things going, right? They're all very excited in that time period when they first leave. The problem is barriers pop up in that first little bit, right? That first couple months. That when you're used to doing something to get, let's say, paid, right? And you're struggling and you still need to get paid, and barriers are popping up left and right, you're going to revert back to what you know, not even in an effort sometimes to continue doing that. It's a lot of times when I talk to them, in their mind, it was just to patch a gap, right? I'm just going to do this just to get enough to get back on course, right? But the problem is when they do that, then it just, right, that leads right back. So what I would say is one of the biggest barriers, I think, from the last question and then kind of leading into this one is acceptance, right? I think people coming outside that have done time at the prison, that have had a lot of time in and out of jails, they don't feel accepted a lot of times by people. They feel like they're going to constantly be judged by their past and what they've done and who they were, right? Most of these people are not the same person they are when they leave, by far, right? Everyone in this room, I guarantee, has changed a ton in the last 10 years. Last 5 years, right? Last 2 years. Think about if you've had nothing to do for the last 5, 10, 15, sometimes 20 years, other than self-reflect, other than try to improve yourself, right? And have people around you trying to lift you up and break you down, right? They get both. So when they come out, it's very important that where they go, they feel accepted so they can feel empowered to move forward, right? So I think resource-wise, the department has a lot of resources. I'll be the first one to tell you, the Department of Corrections, our efforts haven't always matched our words, right? We've always said we are rehabilitating people, all these things, right? I can promise you, recently we've changed direction big time. We're truly trying to have efforts that match our words, right? So we're a resource. if you're ever going to hire someone that's been just as involved, you can reach out to the reentry team. We can kind of tell you, some of the barriers they pop up. And it's not all just like a blanket barrier either, right? Some of it's specific to their background or their situation. So there's a lot of resources out there. We have access to a ton of other resources out in the community. And people want to say they care about their community, they care about everyone, we care about each other. That's a way to show that, okay, you did this happened, now we're at the back end of that, now you're coming back home, let's make sure you stay here and let's welcome you, right? Sorry, I know that didn't kind of...
No, that's okay. That's great. So specifically though, let's see, because there's certain bonds and insurance. Channae, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
There's a federal bonding program, and then there's also the oh my gosh, I'm having a blank, but it's an opportunity tax credit that you can also get, and it also within that employment tax credit, the opportunity tax credit, it also will cover people that have been on any sort of assistance, if you've had felony backgrounds, if you've had any sort of involvement, but also if you've been on Medicaid or anything like that, it'll also protect those. So, and then I'm trying to think of the other incentives too, but there was a big one with reentry, reaching out to reentry, but those two are the biggest one is the federal, oh my gosh, bonding program, thank you. Yeah, so the bonding program is amazing, and actually it's $25,000 that will be covered, insured on those individuals, and it's all free of cost for your place of business. And so it covers anyone, so if any harm is done to your establishment or anything like that, you will have that protecting your establishment.
Thank you. If you've not had a chance to look at this yet, and I apologize because that's a long link at the bottom, and maybe we can send it out. But during COVID, a lot of employers started looking at, like, how do we get people to come work? Mm-hmm. And I was at the Department of Corrections Task Force for Employment at the time, and they were like, oh, now we can go to incarcerated people or people in reentry or people with backgrounds that we wouldn't work with in the past. And so this is all based on research. These aren't just feel-good statements of like, oh, no, that myth is wrong. Mm-hmm. These are all based on research where they found that once people are employed, they're less likely to commit crimes. It's actually a way to protect our community, not to like shame you into hiring people, but we have safer communities, and through a restorative justice lens, we have healed communities. And so if you're not familiar with Flourish Bakery, Ed was our founding chairperson of Flourish Bakery, and we hired people right out of prison. We went into prison, recruited, got people out, and their stories were so powerful of redemption, and resilience was just incredible. And they were less likely to leave their employer because we saw their value. And I want to touch on, we're talking about these benefits, the benefit of being a decent human, of hiring somebody, and also knowing that these people are going to stick around longer. And 20 years ago, when I was released from prison, I remember going to a deli, and the person that I purchased food from, I was just asking, for a sandwich. And they asked if there was anything else they could do for me. It was just typical niceties of employment. And I remember them looking at me, and it felt like they looked in my soul and just said, have a great day. And I cried for 2 hours because that was the first time I had in about a year and a half that someone saw my humanity. And so with that, going to Flourish Bakery, that was tantamount to how we treated our guests, our interns, that we saw their divine, we saw their humanity, and we let them know that you're amazing. We're so fortunate to have you in our space. And so we talk sometimes about how there's felon-friendly jobs, and there's justice-involved affirming spaces. And the felon-friendly jobs, sometimes they'll hold over like, hey, I know you're PO, if you don't do this, sometimes unethical thing, I'm going to report you. and to actually just treat people in a humane way, knowing there's research to back you that you're not at more risk. Your employees aren't at more risk because you've hired someone with a background. The known problems are probably the best problems in our communities because we know what to look for. And so we see loyalty, we see increase of productivity, and the assumption that maybe there's more qualified people than someone who's been incarcerated. Often we're meaningfully employed before or while we were arrested. And so it's just looking beyond stigma. And I think we can't get into a productive conversation until we know that people have been incarcerated. So I'm always happy to step forward on that. And if you ever have a question about hiring someone with a background, please reach out to me. I would love to chat with you, grab coffee, and discuss my experience, discuss the facts, and the debunked myths about how you should hire people, because I know I was super loyal to the first person to hire me with a really good job. And to this day, Mike and Phil Muir of Copper Canyon Farms, if you're in food service, they were always incredible to me, and I just busted my ass extra hard for them.
Amazing. This next question is about banning the box. So when formerly convicted individuals go out to hire and they, on what's the word I'm looking for? Job applications. Thank you. Have to check a box. I myself have been, told that I can't get certain jobs because of this. So I kind of want to dive into what is banning the box? How does getting rid of that help open doors for reentry? How has that affected maybe some of you in your careers? And some notes in here like kind of like a false paradigm of running background checks, training on how to approach businesses with a justice-involved background and use it to your advantage. Those are some notes that I have. So I'm going to direct this to Josh and Fee. If you want to.
Okay, so I have a justice-involved background, and I'll just tell you a quick story. I have a whole history of addiction and growing up in a drug world, and my mom didn't teach me things like you need to get an education and go to prison. She taught me shit like how to deal drugs and don't get a felony on your record because you're going to have a hard time getting a job. So when I was released from prison, that was one of the hardest things for me because I knew I had to check this box. But just like he said, like if you use your time right, you can go into prison and come out somebody else, right? And so that's exactly what I did. I worked on myself and made myself a better person. But I always had that doubt in the back of my mind. I have a felony now. Who is going to hire me? And I actually went to a class, and the person speaking said, you need to let them know that you have a colorful background. And I did get a felon-friendly job when I first was released at Buffalo Wild Wings because they give you, if you do your time right, they give you resources and everything that you need. And so I went there, and it was a really hard job, but I kept looking because I was a very qualified candidate. I graduated high school. I graduated business tech. I graduated culinary arts, all while in prison. And so I had a pretty good resume. And I got an interview for a position, and I had to mark that box, right? And it's just you're having the best interview of your life, but then you're going to get down to that box. And so for me, having to check that box, a lot of times when you're applying for jobs, you're not even going to apply for a job if you're like, oh, I have to check that box because I'm a felon. And so banning that box lets you get to see the person who they are now instead of what they were then, right? And also, we're human. The person that gives you the chance, when you're first released and you get that chance, they're gonna work so hard for you. You know what I mean? Give them the chance, because once again, it's like they have to mark that box. So they're going to maybe shy away from applying for those jobs, and then they go back into what they were doing before because it's what they know, right? So just giving the people the chance of them being a human being instead of, oh, you have a felony or you're a felon, right? So banning the box really, I think, takes away that stigma of just let them be people. We're humans, you know. So.
Yeah, I agree. 12 years ago, when I was released from jail and I didn't know what to do, like you go and you apply, and you hear from society like, "Oh, you're tattooed. You have a colorful background," which I really loved. You're never gonna make it. Yeah, like you're not gonna make it. And I actually learned how to cut hair while I was in jail. So that's how I was able to create what my career is now. And I have a very successful hair studio in downtown Salt Lake City. But I think when you go and you do that application, as a few of us have experienced, you see that box and it literally just, you're like, what's the point of even applying? Why would I come back? Why would I do this again and again? And that's where we kind of talked about it. We get back into a system of what we know. And it's really hard. It's a really hard rut to get out of. But once that first person, like we've all said, it's like any time in your life when you've had something really hard, but you had no one to go to, and there's one person that you find, and they listen to you, it just is like a game changer. So being in a justice-involved issues is, I think a lot of us are even more creative. We're a little bit more, there's something different about what we've gone through to help us get to where we're at now. Mental health is a huge aspect of that too. I think inside of the system, there's not a lot of help for mental health. When you're inside, you're dealing with a lot of things, especially as a queer person. It's really, really scary and difficult. And I think once you get out and you find that therapy, Flourish is a great opportunity. Just anywhere where you can find someone to talk to about what you went through. But that banning the box, though, you think about it, and it's a constant reminder that you aren't good enough, or you really messed up and you can't come back. That's not true. I mean, look, for example, we've all come back and we're all doing great things. So I also want to take back, I also want to agree with Cambria. I just want to take the box off and put your astrological chart. Let's vow for that. Let's vow for that. Yeah. Just your big three. Your big three. Yeah. So yeah.
Resourceful.
Yeah. One thing I would add to that is whatever metrics you normally use to gauge if you should hire someone, to gauge their desire, their honesty, all those kind of things, you're gonna be able to apply that same metrics to people that have been just as involved. They're just human beings like anybody else trying to move forward and do positive things. Don't let the reason that they had a background be the reason you're not even going to talk to them, you're not going to hire them, right? Give them a fair shake, give them an interview, make the decision you normally would using the method you normally use to make that decision, right?
Amazing. And yeah, the word I would think resourceful. That's a pretty good word. Yeah, a lot of gig work. Yeah. Okay, so I have another question. So for preparing your workplace for individuals that might that either have had a justice involved background or might have come from that also a lot of times also comes with addiction. So preparing our workplaces for recovery friendly workspaces, and kind of what kind of resources are out there to help us figure that out, or if something happens at work, who do we go to? And maybe I'll go to Channae.
Yeah, so there's an amazing resource. There's USARA that actually comes in and trains establishments and employers to become trauma informed, as well as, just knowing the resources that are available to extend out to someone that is, struggling or going through addiction. So that's a really incredible resource, as well as there's a lot of amazing organizations. So if you ever need anything, like if there is someone that you're concerned about or have someone that you're within your establishment or employed, I would be happy to help provide those resources. There's a lot of amazing organizations. There's treatment centers. There's just a direct line. Anything. Would love to help. So if anyone would like to talk after, would love to help with that.
And I'll also insert, because I was supposed to bring some of these resources and I didn't do it. So sorry. SAMHSA is this Substance Abuse Mental Health Administration of the federal government, and their standards of trauma-informed workplaces actually say that we should eliminate zero-tolerance spaces for drug use. And so we treat substance use disorder as a medical condition, and the same way that we would if you have a diabetic event, if you are struggling with your mental health, to have time off and give that person a chance to come back. And the more that we facilitate psychological safety in our workplace, people feel comfortable to say, hey, I relapsed yesterday and it's going to be all right. Like, that's why I didn't come to the office, but I'm working with my therapist and things are going to be all right. I'm just ready to move forward. It can be that simple. It can even be more complicated. But to Channae's point, USAR is a great resource. Also is Department of Workforce Services. So they have specialists that can help in these spaces with both reentry and substance use disorder, and with helping you with best practices to elevate those. If it's okay if I take some liberty on also kind of going back to, why are we talking about justice involvement in a queer space? And I think it's really important that we realize this is queer justice as well when we're talking criminal justice reform. If you think about Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, and a lot of the leaders of our movement, we were weaponized as trans people and used against the queer community. When there were breakups at Compton Cafe and all over the country, it was us that were getting arrested. It was us that ended up with a criminal justice background. If Sylvia Rivera lived today, she'd be a social worker. She'd be at Flourish therapy. So we have a vested interest in supporting our queer justice-involved community members. And this gets really personal to me because I've had people say, why would you take interest in people that are incarcerated? Because we should be working with people who haven't messed up. And this is from our queer community. And I'm like, do you have any concept of our history? And that, it wasn't long ago that I could have been arrested for wearing women's clothing. And so the pipeline from just being queer in space to what Senate Bill 316 caused for our trans incarcerated community is atrocious. And when you hear people talk about know your rights right now, no one's talking about Senate Bill 316 that says trans women have to be incarcerated with the men's section. And this is something that today we've not had trans people in the section that they need to be housed, that we have no one also fighting for that. And so thinking now that we've got these potential, at one point, just last February, trans women could have gone to prison or jail just for using the restroom. And because we didn't pay any attention to 316, we are much higher risk for sexual assault. Like Shannon was saying, we're disproportionately arrested still and represented in the prison system. And the numbers, when you see the pie chart, like just imagine, see if this does it justice. It's like sexual assault for cis white people, it's here. Sexual assault for trans, especially BIPOC trans people, it's here. And this is both with officers and other incarcerated individuals. And this is a nationwide statistic. And so it's important that we view our community as community. And I love Emily, love you to death at Sugar House Coffee. It's one of those spaces where I do see everyone welcome, and I know it means everyone. And so getting back to employment, like when we're talking about queer liberation, it's about getting people out of their intergenerational trauma cycles that led them to incarceration and helping them heal that trauma just by not being their therapist, not being their mental health or their substance use therapy group, but just walking alongside them and saying, we'll find the resources for you. And if this one didn't work at Valley Behavioral, we'll take you over here because you matter to me. And I think that's really important, that this is why we're doing this today. And I also want to put a plug, if I can, with Trans Awareness Week, which is November 13th through 19th. On the 14th, we're going to have a full day of economic empowerment, including a luncheon with people that are justice involved to talk about these issues on how to better go to market as an interviewee, but also solutions we can have as employers. So we'll have more resources there.
Thank you, Jacey. You can go do some of your own wonderful research. I did a bunch. You can go to prisonpolicy.org. There's charts on pretty much every single demographic on there. Any other resources that you can think of? Anyway, that's the main one that I was looking at. And then, if that's all the questions I had. I don't know if anyone else has questions. We can open it up. Thoughts, things, yes.
So, from the other side of the house of cost of government, things like that, just a few statistics that people need to know. We're going to release about 750,000 people from our federal and state penitentiaries this year. 10 million people are going to go through our 3,800, 3,900 county jails in this country. And recidivism is one of the most expensive things facing our state and local governments. And so as business leaders, when we look at our tax structure, when we look at our communities, you really need to look at this issue because this is driving our state and local governments into bankruptcy while we're destroying people's lives. And as businesses, we always like that, oh, well, that's a great thing, somebody should hire people like this, but you really have to do that in your own business. I was involved in prison ministry for about 40 years, and recidivism is the biggest problem that we don't talk about in politics, and we don't talk about in the community. And so as a business, big or small, honestly, listen to these people and hire, because if you've hired some of these folks, and I have, they are the people that will crawl through glass for you.
I'll crawl through glass for you, Jerry. Let's see. Are you pointing at me? Oh. Let's see. Any other thoughts? Oh, yes. Question.
I have a question for Channae. What success or role have you seen with peer support specialists playing within the community specifically?
Within the community? So within the community, I've seen amazing success. Peer support is such a valuable tool. You can use it in all areas of life. Whether you're struggling and had someone that you just found out that your father had cancer, or someone that is justice involved, or someone that is struggling with mental health condition, you can have a peer support specialist in any angle of that life, and we have seen tremendous success. And just there's a lot of organizations that are utilizing peer support, and even the hospitals are using them and seeing significant reduction in readmissions to hospital stays, as well as now they're showing the statistics because now they're using it within the criminal justice system, and it's been incredible. Less time going back into reentry into jails or institutions or anything like that, as well as going back into treatment centers. They're actually living successful lives because they have a peer support specialist, and it's because someone had that lived experience and knows exactly what you have gone through. And it's just a valuable tool. I've seen wonderful, wonderful success, and I am such a huge advocate of it because of the huge success I have seen, and just the wonderful, now I have, we have clients that are wanting to become peer support specialists. It's the coolest thing, you know, they turn their life around, they're like, now I want to go help. And it's just this chain of events, and it's so cool and it's amazing to witness.
Amazing, thank you. Yeah.
Can you maybe speak to like what resources are available for justice-involved people if they were looking to becoming an entrepreneur or maybe going back to school, that kind of stuff? What resources are available?
Did we hear that?
Yeah.
Who wants to go for it?
Um,
So question was, and correct me, what are the resources for, what was her term?
So justice
Thank you.
involved,
I
yeah.
lost it. Justice-involved individuals wanting to become entrepreneurs and start their own business, essentially, right?
Yeah, and like continuing
Education. Yeah.
So a really valuable tool is vocational rehab. They are amazing, and they have done wonderful. So we take them a lot of the times to vocational rehab, and they help so much with just starting. If you want to start a business, if you want to go back to school, if you need help with funds to get clothes, you know, like I had a client that he had no professional clothing, you know, and so we helped get him over to vocational rehab and got him all set up and got him like a whole wardrobe, and so he was able to go to job interviews, got a job, got everything successfully, and that's been an amazing resource. And there's you know, other organizations that help as well, but that's one of the best tools that I have seen is vocational rehab.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you. And I'm going to run right after I talk because I have to run. But this is really near and dear to my heart. Small Business Development Center, any entrepreneurial like organization that you would lean on without that, they have people who really understand and can support that. And I think the chamber is a vital part of that as well, because you build network, and you know, if you're just out the door from prison, to be able to like have a community of people say, hey, this is someone who got mixed up and they're on the right path, I vouch for them, is huge to secure loans and other business networks. And another plug for Project Rainbow event. Sorry, I'm going to just put it out there. We've got this mission-driven meetup coming up next Wednesday. So come scan this QR code and get a free lunch. Come to Indy Square, and we're going to have a bunch of queers just having lunch together. These can be, it's kind of thinking of creating a community-based ERG. So justice-involved folks can come together, and we can help navigate some of that, make introductions, and help people on that pathway. Because I know when we have lots of times to think, we think about what could I do, and we build business plans while we're incarcerated. And then we just take that to Small Business Development Center. They're like, yeah, this is great. Let's work on your financial plan. Let's work on your executive summary. Let's get this down, and let's get you in business by next year. So Voc Rehab in partnership with SBDC is such a great pathway. So sorry to cut you off, Joshua, but I got to run. Love you all.
Love you, Jacey. Thank you.
I was just going to say, it's similar to Jacey. I think the biggest thing that I can, and I want to impress a lot of, is if you have friends who are dealing with issues like this, to encourage them to go back to school, to encourage them to apply for loans, to encourage them to apply for programs that do help them. I just did the Goldman Sachs program. I finished it. It was amazing. They do ask something about criminal background, but it didn't deter me, and I probably, I don't know how it didn't. But anyways, we're not going to talk about it. I got it. I went through it. But encourage them to look for resources that help them be better. Like I said, I learned how to cut hair while I was in jail. There's a lot of programs that are in different systems to help you learn and educate. I think Fee had said she did culinary school, stuff like that. I think once they're out, really being a support system for them to learn that people told me that I couldn't travel to other countries because I had a felony. That's not true. I can travel to so many places. I can go to school, I can go to college, I can get loans through banks, through credit unions. That's not impossible to get. Like, those are totally possible to do. So I think just really encouraging the people that you love to go for it. And that's not just for justice-involved folks, that's just for everyone too, though. Mm-hmm. But for them especially, yeah.
Thank you, Josh. Jamaica.
So your local workforce services would be the best to reach out to and get all of that information. But yes, there is the whole application, the whole system that you have to go through and set it up when you're employing the individual, and then go from there. So.
Incredible. Yes, Tracy. Yeah.
What about professional licenses? Like I have a FINRA and SEC license and certified financial planner. That was the number one question. Do not apply if you have this. Real estate agents. I know there's so many professional licenses. Is there any action in those places that people are, doing things, or how can I be involved in that?
So like so if someone has a professional license, does it affect them?
You could not.
For sure. Yeah, no, I have an esthetician license, but I had a record, from the background, but they still allowed me to have the licensing. It's just that you have provisions around it. So they just kind of have more supervision. So it's really like that employer being able to employ that individual with that license if they're going to supervise and be able to take, take over. Yes. Okay.
Like financial planner.
Yeah, financial aids. Yeah. Yeah.
Some real estate couldn't do it.
Yes.
When I got my cosmetology license, they weren't going to approve me at all, and I had to go sit in front of Doppel and express why. And I think we've talked a lot about in some of these other breakout sessions is, especially in the financial ones, is they'll approve you because of your values, what you believe in. It might be different for other real estate stuff like that. I'm not a realtor, so I wouldn't know. But I think if you go into it intentionally with the reason of why you want to do something, why you want to change, I think there's always a way around it. If we've as queer people, as we've learned anything, there's always a way around it. And I think going to those sittings and those hearings and learning about what your rights are, resourceful, hashtag, and knowing what you're allowed to do, just because it says that you can't have it, there's no way that there's no realtor without a criminal background. Oh, I'm gonna say that loosely, but. They just gonna get caught. But so I would assume that there has to be a way, because when I was graduating, they all told me, well, you're not gonna get a license. And I was like, oh no, I'm gonna get a license. And I did get a license, so yeah.
And there's great for expungement. I mean, there's Clean Slate Utah now. There's Raza. Yep, there's amazing resources now to help alleviate some of that on your record as well.
And it's a lot, well, I kind of just messed up my process, but whatever. But it's a lot easier of a process than they tell you. I mean, it's kind of expensive, but it's so worth it and a game changer. Yeah.
Incredible. Well, that's kind of our time. I just want to say that I love all these people, and you're some of the most incredible people I've ever met in my life. And thank you to James, because you're on vacation right now. So, so thank you for coming and talking to us. If anyone wants more information, please feel free to reach out to, maybe not me, but Jacey, James with the reentry and rehabilitation. And just come talk to us if you need some support, because we love you. Great, thanks. Bye.